Chapter 11, The New Kid. Day 2 of Semester 2 of Forever. Watching the clock on my computer change from 7:59 to 8, I knew that once again, class would not be starting on time. Correction. Class started, but no teacher. Flipping through the screens on Zoom, I checked anyway to see if Mrs. Pennick was anywhere to be found. It wasn't like I was worried about learning or starting on time. Instead, I was worried that without her, the class would go feral, and, as always, I would take the brunt of it all. Nope, she wasn't there, so I stopped for a little Tasha time. No smile, of course. I wondered what she could be thinking about, and what she was staring at. It was almost like she was looking at me. I tried to smile, with just one side of my mouth, and gave a quick head nod. Sup. Okay, she wasn't exactly looking at me, more like looking through me. Who was I kidding? She was looking at her screen, not me, most likely watching a tutorial on how to break a nose with one punch. But just in case, I sucked in my cheeks. Click. Mason said he saw you at the kiddie story time in the library, I heard Zeke's snarky voice as his screen lit up. A few seconds passed before I realized that he had to have been talking to me, but of course, the whole class heard. Not again. Mason was too puny to say something himself, but it was just like him to tell someone else. He thought he could somehow be cool if he just did something, but he for sure didn't know what that something was, and he never would. So he must have thought that telling about me was his path to acceptance. He was obviously clueless because I was not the way to anything. Pedo the bear, that's what we should call you, Zeke continued. Must have been at the library picking up some kids. Nah, he was in the little kid area because he's dumb, probably learning how to read. Brandon hopped in, always trying to one-up someone, but I didn't know if that burn was any better. Guys, don't be mean. It's because Solomon is solo man. He doesn't have anyone at home to care about him, right, Mrs. Pennick? Inquired Kylie in that fake voice she used only for adults. Yes, always treat others as you want to be treated. It looks like you have added more books to your collection. You are such an avid reader, Kylie. FML. How does Mrs. Pennick fall for this kind of stuff? She complimented Kylie last time she used a random Zoom background behind her of books on a shelf. Today, Kylie had a background with a bookcase that took up the entire wall, and worse, it didn't even look like the same room. Maybe if Mrs. Pennick cleaned off those smudged glasses, she'd be able to tell. Kylie always tried to tear others down while trying to look good around adults. She must have waited and watched for the exact moment when Mrs. Pennick logged into Zoom. At least the heat was off me. I sat back in my chair and tried to relax, but my shirt stuck to my chest from sweat that seemed to come out of nowhere. I wiped off my hands and attempted to breathe deeply. I can make it through this day. Mrs. Pennick, can I share a picture I found from my Lunar New Year's project? Zeke asked with a twisted smile. Oh my, that would be great, Zeke. I do like your shirt this morning. I use those all of the time. This class sure knows a lot about computers. Thank you for volunteer. Before she could even get the ing out, my screen flashed black and then to a photo of me sitting cross-legged among the circle of children last night. The picture caught me mid-yawn, but it looked like I had my mouth wide open in awe as I stared at the book being read. Mason unmuted and started laughing loudly, way more than he should have, always trying to get attention. Oops, it must have been the next picture, Zeke said unconvincingly. Oh, that's nothing to worry about. We all make mistakes, Mrs. Pennick proclaimed with full sincerity. Zeke was so fake. What a punk ass. I didn't think it could get worse, but somehow it always did. The screen flashed again, and this time, there on the screen for the whole class to see, was the moment that I caught the little girl from falling. But of course, it didn't look like that. The girl was full on in my lap with my arms around her. Here we go. If only I could have braced myself for the impact, but nothing could be done. I was right. Look, he's hugging that little girl. Solo the pedo, Zeke proclaimed proudly, pointing at his shirt. I noticed his shirt for the first time. It was a large picture of a PDF logo. Seriously? Now his bullying was planned? He was next level evil. As the class broke into its daily chaos, but before Mrs. Pennick could say anything, the Zoom doorbell rang. Oh, that must be our new student, chirped Mrs. Pennick, delighted. One little distraction was all she needed. This meant that once again, the class got away with tormenting me. My face hot and ears red, I could at least be glad that it stopped. For now. I tried to distract myself from the embarrassment and hoped that by pretending nothing happened, I could trick myself into forgetting. Good luck on that. Flipping through Zoom screens, I searched for the new student. Only a blank thumbnail picture. No avatar. Only a single name. Nate. "Hello, Nate. Please turn on your camera and tell us something about yourself," Mrs. Pennick continued. Silence. "No need to be shy, Nate." Just then, a message popped up in the chat. Nate. "My mic and camera don't work. Sorry." Yeah, right. He would only be able to get away with that lie for a little bit. Although, knowing Mrs. Pennick, he could get away with it for the rest of the year. Mason was already the no-camera guy. I didn't know if there could be two. Nate was lucky, though. If his camera and mic were on, the class would just start roasting him on his looks or something about his voice. That would take some heat off me, though. But whatever. That would probably only give me a week's break, and what was 1 week without pain? If I felt the pain every day, I could be numb, just ignore it. But if I had a week's reprieve, it might hurt that much more when the pain came back. Sometimes, knowing what was coming was worse than if the pain had just been around the whole time. No, that was wrong. Having hope and then losing that hope was worse. I wondered what was wrong with the new guy. No one good ever came to this school. Everyone was here for a reason, and never a good reason. No one would ever choose this digital hellscape. Brandon's grades dropped, probably from gaming all day, so he was here. Or maybe he somehow convinced his parents to let him come here, so he could be online even more. Kylie was all drama. She claimed she was bullied and said this school could keep her safe from it. Yeah, right. She was as big of a bully as them all. I bet the kids at her last school were done with her crap. She didn't get what she wanted, so she had to find someone, some group, or someplace else that might. Hopefully, someone stood up to her and slapped her in her big annoying mouth. How does Mrs. Pennick fall for her crap? Zeke, on the other hand, was the classic bully in every 80s movie, but somehow worse. Was it all just to entertain himself, or did he find pleasure in others' pain? Mason, plain wuss, pulled out of normal school for his social anxiety and lack of friends. His parents thought this place would be good for him. Ha! Only if they wanted their son to grow up to be a psychopath. Speaking of psychopaths, Tasha. Everyone was terrified of her, even Mrs. Pennick. Rumor had it that after Tasha beat up a girl, she put the girl's mouth on a curb and stomped on the back of the girl's head. The girl lost 8 of her front teeth, all 4 on top, all 4 on bottom. Jace was a follower, which was not good when you were at a school full of jerks. He started trouble for fun, or possibly just so he could fit in. Enrique didn't speak English, but that didn't make him a bad kid. Why would the school do that to him? Just threw him in a class with bad kids and gave him no help. Arlo simply talked a lot, too much about bugs, history, and weird things that people didn't care about. Poor guy probably got banished here because no one wanted to hear him talk anymore. And there couldn't be a better place because his teacher could literally mute him whenever he became too much to handle. Darla was grumpy, seemed sad to be alive, but also didn't want to die because then she couldn't complain anymore. Kinda emo, but not pasty. And Harry, he was Harry. I don't know what his deal was, but seriously, how did a 12-year-old kid have a beard? Not just that, he had hair down to his shoulders, a thick unibrow, and even long, dark arm hair. All I could hope was that Nate took the heat off me. I hoped it was like those 80s movies and the new kid got mercilessly bullied. Then maybe the class would forget about me because they were too busy having fun picking on the new guy.